All right. First of all, before we get started, somebody out there is legitimately probably saying the Kansas City Chiefs, the NFL is rigged. Look at how that field goal was made. Illuminati confirmed. Oh, man. It's so easy to hate winners. Is it not easy to hate winners, my man? Good grief. Look, I'm not really going to do too much NFL today. I think we all have a pretty good idea of what happened last night with the Kansas City Chiefs, the Chargers. Russ continues to be successful. The Pittsburgh Steelers look pretty good. The Panthers were, quote, feisty, but still couldn't quite pull it off. Regardless, college football is the main thing right now, right? And I'm sure everybody's bitching and moaning this morning about how Alabama's not in, or they're debating on why they shouldn't have been in the first place. Look, first of all, this is why, again, I say the rules don't make any sense. Very clearly, it was stated. We were tasked with the top 25. That's it. From there, the rules are the rules. So you have Alabama sitting at 11. You have Clemson ranked, 5 spots behind them technically, but they are going to get in because they are one of the highest ranked conference champions. That's it. And I've been saying that since the beginning of the year. So if Alabama fan has a gripe, there's your gripe right there. Not about your schedule, not about anything else other than the rules not making sense, which is why I've implored for years and years and years that you create a rules system and not a voting system. In fact, I'm in favor of the top 16 teams getting in, to be honest with you. I think 16 teams is a perfect number. I didn't like 4. I didn't like the idea of 8. Certainly don't love 12. And I think 16 is the perfect number. So there's that. But I just think, and everybody goes, well, what kind of rules would there be? Folks, this is not quantum physics. Are there not rules to get into a conference championship game? They have rules slated out so that way you know exactly what you have to do to play in the ACC championship, the SEC, et cetera, et cetera. Stop it. This is not quantum physics. Now, to Alabama not getting in, whether anybody likes it or not, they don't deserve to be there. I don't care what Alabama has done since 2009. This is 2024, and they are not the same football team that you fans want them to be. That is all there is to it. They have some very dynamic playmakers, especially Ryan Williams. Jalen Milroe is very hit and miss as a quarterback. Let's keep it a buck. That Georgia game, they damn near blew the lead. And had it not been for a miracle play, right? One hell of a play by Ryan Williams, because that was a bad throw in the traffic. He does everything. He adjusts to make the catch. He stays on the sideline. He makes, 3 guys miss. That was 100% Ryan Williams. Jalen Milroe is a true option quarterback. To be honest with you, he's Justin Fields. Whether anybody likes it or not. They don't deserve to be in this season. And Caleb DeBoer showed that he's just not quite ready yet on several occasions. Number 1, blowing the lead. Number 2, not getting his team prepped for Vandy correctly. Number 3, the Tennessee game and the mass mistakes that were made. The OU game getting held to 3 points. Okay, sure, fine. The ref stole 6 from you in that game. How many more points do you still lose by? They could have changed the momentum. Stop it. You were getting dominated. And if you'd done what you were supposed to be doing up to that point, you wouldn't have been in that position to begin with because you should have been well ahead. Let's keep that a buck. And then everybody talks about the strength of schedule. Look, the strength of schedule, the SEC and really any conference, we got to remember these teams are being ranked by the committee, the AP. These people have an invested interest, and it is all about flavor of the week more often than not. And Alabama's out-of-conference schedule was Mercer, Western Kentucky, South Florida, and Wisconsin. And yeah, sure, they did their job and pulled away, but let's not forget, that was a 1-point game going into the fourth quarter against South Florida. In fact, just talking about records, Western Kentucky was the best team that they played. You can't lose to Vanderbilt, who lost to Georgia State. You can't get blown out by OU. You just can't do it and expect to get in. Does anybody remember the debate that happened a few years back with Penn State, whether or not they should be in? They had 2 losses, and a lot of people felt that they should be in the college football playoff. Does anybody remember that season when they got absolutely drummed by Michigan? In a voting system, you are not going to get the opportunity when you get – and look, Alabama shouldn't have been ranked as high as they were to begin with. They were 7 with 2 losses, and I knew what the committee was doing. They were doing everything that they could to keep them hanging around. And everybody says they don't feel sorry for Miami. They don't feel sorry for this team. They don't feel sorry for that team. How in the hell is anybody else supposed to feel sorry for Alabama? If you win, you're in. And to be honest with you, outside of maybe Oregon, and even then not so much, there really hasn't been a true dominant team in college football this year. Why? Again, I say the transfer portal. This has been one of the most difficult years to decide who truly is good. There's only one undefeated football team in college football this year, guys. And that's Oregon. I mean, at this point, if you're going to make a case for Alabama, then you might as well make a case for KU. Did they not beat 3 then-ranked football teams in a row at one point? But how did their overall season go? Oh, we'll just play all the soft SEC teams. Wait a minute. I thought there were no soft SEC teams. I thought Vanderbilt would be able to take on Indiana and win by 30, no problem. But didn't Vanderbilt also beat Alabama? But let me guess, you're going to say, well, Vandy wasn't that bad. No. Bro, they lost to Georgia State. You will not tell me, well, they beat Virginia Tech. How good was Virginia Tech? Stop it. You cannot have it both ways. You cannot tell me that top to bottom, the SEC is the best conference in the country and then say, well, we'll play all the bad SEC teams. Wrong. You got Nick Saban crying, oh, this doesn't incentivize us to play Notre Dame. You didn't play Notre Dame. Texas A&M did, and they lost. And you got the SEC commissioner. He's crying about all this. Oh, we're the best conference. We should have more teams in. You want all of your teams in. Does anybody remember last season when Kirby Smart said every team in the SEC should be ranked? Anybody remember that statement? This is the power trip that this conference is on, and this is why people are fed up with it. They are upset because they are sick and damn tired of hearing about it. Alabama may have won some games against some teams that were then ranked. But at the end of the day, there is a penalty for losing whether anybody likes it or not. And I don't want to hear about Nick Saban saying it won't incentivize teams to play big games when Alabama's schedule was softer than Cool Whip outside of the conference. Wisconsin has not been good for the last 5 seasons. South Florida, give me a break. Mercer's an FCS team. Western Kentucky, get real. The delusion that is up here, it's madness, man. I don't think I have ever seen anything like it other than maybe a Dallas Cowboy fan in the first 5 weeks of every season. This is the old and man and Dallas Cowboy fan has done nothing to earn it. At least the SEC's got some titles to back up their bluster. And even then, you got 3 teams in, right? You got Tennessee, you got Georgia, and you got Texas. If one of those teams is good enough, they will win the championship. That's pretty cut and dry, isn't it? That's pretty cut and dry. If one of them is good enough, they will win that title. Well, anyway, there's that. Paul Feinbaum can chill out. talking like it was a doomsday scenario for Alabama. Oh, the worst case scenario may have just happened. Clemson beat SMU. Which, by the way, that is Dabo Swinney spitting in the face of everybody who's told him that that team is not that good this year. And two, you can't, if you don't want to do the transfer portal, then you are going to fall by the wayside. He just keeps figuring it out, man. And look, I've been one of the ones that are critical of him. Now, do I think they'll do anything in the playoff? No. I honestly, I don't think so. I think if they win one playoff game, I'd call that a definite win for the season. Is it going to help with long-term recruiting? Potentially, but they're going to have to win a playoff game. Because, look, sustainability, right? You're going to have to figure out how to recruit guys that want to stick around. And look, you're going to have to create financial freedom in order to do that. It's not just about the transfer portal and what it does. It's about the combination of NIL times the transfer portal and how other schools are able to create situations for these players that other schools are not able to do. That's legitimately what it amounts to. And I don't want to hear any more Nick Saban, oh, well, this doesn't really help out the little guy anymore. You don't give a damn. You don't want a team like Boise State in there to begin with, and you know it. The look on your face when you saw them given a bye week, you were disgusted. Stop it. I am sick and fucking tired of the financial bias that ESPN has, whether they want to admit to it or not. It is there, and they are 100% using their power of influence to try and get everything they want. They didn't get their little old way this year, and they don't know how to deal with it. They're all acting like a bunch of little children. So sorry, you only got 3 of your invested interest teams into the playoff. Again, if one of them is good enough, they're going to see. Look, I'm not a real big corporate America guy, in case you can't tell. This is why, well, anyway, moving on here to the actual games themselves. Look, to me, there was one thing about Arizona State that I saw during the championship game with Iowa State that I did not like, and that was they had that 63-yard play, and they're down in, what are they, on the 3-yard line, and there just was no continuity in that moment. Everybody looked lost. They looked confused. They didn't know what play to set. They didn't know what to do. And then they had to use a timeout. Then the next play, Scott Bowie just throws one up. That was a crazy move because that ball could have been picked off. They ended up scoring, but that sequence really was not that impressive. And I think it showed Iowa State's inability to be ready for a college football playoff just as much as it showed Arizona State's. Now, they slid by in the Big 12. They were able to put themselves in position. Great. Now, though, they're going to have to make some adjustments because an old boy can get on talking about how he's the best running back in the country, all he wants to, and yada, yada, yada. Genty's proof is in the pudding. Genty ran all over Oregon at the beginning of the season. So there's that, okay? The point of what I'm saying here is they're a one-dimensional football team, whether anybody believes it or not. If the run game doesn't work and you can't get stuff together like that against some of the better teams in the country, against a Notre Dame, against a Georgia, you cannot let their defenses be able to sit back and be able to regroup. You've got to get up to the line of scrimmage in that moment, either call the play and run it quickly or just run up, snap it, and just, I'm talking up the middle, quarterback dive, quarterback sneak, fullback dive, halfback dive, whatever. I mean, something simple just to keep the pressure on them. Keep the momentum going. Look, a lot of other defenses in the country, if they get a chance to reset like that, they are going to stop you on the goal line. That's all there is to that. Saw it with Ohio State and Michigan. Look, for everybody talking about Ryan Day and Ohio State, they made some stops on the goal line. they forced a turnover. I mean, look, you cannot give these teams an opportunity to reset. You've got to get down there and take care of business after a big play like that. You've got to show that you're ready to be there. And I know Arizona State fan is really happy, and they're going to get the bye, but I'm telling you that didn't look good. As far as Penn State and Oregon goes, look, I've said this 1,000,001 times. I don't know where James Franklin starts coming from. Every time that football team starts running the football, they are superb. It should be notably probably one of the top 3 run games in all of college football at Penn State. But he is hell-bent on making Drew Aller Tom Brady, and he's just not it. Now, somebody's going to go, man, come on, look, Brody. Every dog has her day. Drew Aller's had a couple of games here and there. He's a D1 quarterback. He's going to have some really good games. You are going to have to play the ground and pound game. The Oregon game is not necessarily embarrassing predicated upon how you finished, but it certainly started out that way. It's 4 quarters, man. The game doesn't start in the second half. You have got to start and finish the same way a lot of times in college football. Every now and again, you can get away with it. It ain't how you start, it's how you finish. Well, you get from behind like that, and you're doing 2 things. Number one, you're playing catch-up, and you're trying to get the momentum, and you're going on the run, and you're doing all these things, and then you're there, and now you're tied or whatever. Now you got to try and take the lead. Now you're trying to maintain. Now you're trying to get ahead. Then you get ahead maybe. Then you're trying to maintain the lead. Then and you're just exhausted. All the fuel in the tank, man. It just, to me, the way Penn State came back versus the way SMU came back are 2 totally different things. I think SMU showed who they really were at the end of that football game. And I think Penn State revealed who they really were at the beginning of that football game. And I think Oregon got very lazy, if I'm being honest with you. I think they got very lax. I think they got very lazy. And they allowed Penn State to come back. I don't think that was symptomatic of Penn State being a truly great football team. Now, obviously, we'll find out in the playoffs. But for my money, it just wasn't a good look. I think James Franklin needs to really simplify the playbook. That's what I think. I don't think there's a reason to try and do too much. Throw some things in there, but come on, man. Let's be honest. Your strength is running that damn football. Do it. Aller's got wheels. I know you don't want to risk him getting hurt, but folks, injuries are part of the game, and Troy Aikman wasn't exactly known for being a scrambler, and how many concussions did he have? And a lot of them were him sitting back there in that pocket. We have to get over the notion that because your quarterback is exposed, he's going to get hurt. I know we've seen hits from Trevor Lawrence. I know we've seen what has happened to Tua. I get all that. I'm not ridiculous to it, but everybody's at risk. You're going to have to play the game that suits your team best because as a coach, job one, put your team in a position to win. And for whatever reason, James Franklin just throws everything out the window when it comes to these bigger games. He goes completely away. Like, dude, you're not slick. They know what you're going to do by now. They watch you in the games that don't matter, run the football. And then they watch you in the games that do matter, try to make your quarterback Tom Brady. It's just not going to happen, bro. Stop it. So, well, there's that. Anyway, Clemson, hats off to Dabo. Like I said, he's spitting in the face of everybody right now. As a Q's fan, I appreciate him. Give that shout out right back to Fran Brown. You were a real one for that one, Brody. I honestly, I don't know how Clemson did it, man. I think the mistakes early on by SMU crushed them. You don't make those mistakes. I think SMU wins that football game probably handily, at least by 10. And to me, there's no doubt about that, at least by 10. I'm excited for SMU. I'm excited for Boise State. I think it's time that we realize that the NCAA is not just 4 conferences with a few special teams. We need to go way past that. I am hoping that SMU and Boise State do well. One or the other. Doesn't matter to me. I'm really hoping for it because, and look, I understand that none of these players were there when Boise State was doing their thing back in the mid, early, part of the 2000s. I get that. But man alive, I guarantee you those fans have not forgot all the times that they were shunned. All the times they were told you're not good enough. All the times they were told your schedule is weak. All the times they were told that one game at the beginning of the year against Virginia Tech doesn't matter. All the times they were told that you're too small, your conference isn't good enough, you're not strong enough. If you played in this conference or that conference, you'd have 7 wins, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All the times they would lose just one game and then have no shot at anything. Look, this is Boise State fan right now, I guarantee you, is watching with redemption on the mind, and they should be. I would still be furious, and it's not just about them. It's about an undefeated Utah team that was coached by Urban Meyer and quarterbacked by Alex Smith that should have got a shot. Boise State should have had a shot. Rutgers had a solid argument, and they didn't get in. UCF, which, by the way, Scott Frost is reportedly going back to, they didn't get their shot, and they were undefeated. Remember, they unveiled themselves as national champions. They were the only undefeated team left. Yeah, Scott Frost, man, what a troll job. It's really about that, and this is the way college football should be. Tulane had a chance at parts of the season to be able to crawl back in there. I think if Army doesn't lose to Notre Dame, they're probably in the college football playoff right now, and SMU might be out. I'm just keeping that a buck. Because you don't leave Notre Dame out at 10-2, even with their schedule. It doesn't happen. Man. Oh, and really quick here, last game, Georgia, Texas. Texas is going to look back and say to themselves they should have won that football game. And if Texas beats Georgia, I got news for everybody. Alabama ends up getting in there because they have the head-to-head. That's all there is to it. They slide in, Georgia falls back. And Georgia probably doesn't end up in the college football playoff. You swap them out, you leave in SMU. Despite how close that game would have been. And even then, maybe, just maybe, SMU gets left out, even though that game is close. And Georgia and Bama both make it in. But regardless, Texas is going to look back and say to themselves, they should have won that football game. They created turnovers. They had 2 fumbles on one drive alone by Georgia that they should have recovered. Matter of fact, it was a drive where Georgia faked the punt, right? So they should have been able to recover those fumbles. But I've always said a team becomes reflective of their coach and situational awareness, football IQ. Where's the football? Where are we attacking? You're doing enough to jar the damn thing loose, but you got 1 Georgia player and 3 Texas guys around, and none of your guys have the meat and the muscle to get that damn football. Come on, man. Who wants it more, right? Again, I say Kirby Smart, at the end of the day, outcoached Caleb DeBoer. At the end of the day, he outcoached Sarkisian. That's all there is to it. That's the way that it went down. Going forward on 4th down, look, this is a nothing to lose situation technically for Georgia. Because they know if they lose the football game, they're probably not going to get in. So what do? Look, I know they're not going to be ready for it. Not on what, your own 35-yard line? Isn't that where they did it at? Come on. You know they're not looking for it. You know that it's a low-scoring game. You know that you're probably thinking, man, they're just gonna let the defense take care of this, right? Wrong. Now, credit Texas because they held them, but they should have won that football game. Just offensively, they couldn't get anything going. Quinn Ewers is always hurt. And really outside of the games against Alabama, right? The first year, a couple years ago, that they should have won that game in Texas, but he got hurt. And then the next year, right, in Tuscaloosa, hell of a performance. But really outside of that, in the truly big games, he's either injured or he's playing hurt or he's making too many critical mistakes. And then, of course, Sark, he's overtime, he's bringing in Arch Manning out of nowhere. And, and then, even then, when they were down in the red zone, why are you making these you're not even trying to work the middle of the field. You're just going straight for the end zone. You still can work the middle of the field. You could run the football. You could do a lot of different things. You can run out routes, quick ends. Just a little 5 and in, square in. Boom. There it is. 5 and out, 10 and out. Quick hitch. There's just so many choices right there. But see, the one thing I keep saying about Texas is they either run the football directly up the middle or they chuck it deep, and there's little in between, and it's just a little bit of window dressing to try and keep you off balance. Sark has got to improve his play calling. I mean, that's all there is to it. And he's got to make a choice. He's either got to go Ewers or Manning. This dude is coaching scared right now. That's what I see when I see Sark. He coaches scared. Man, you've got to have grapefruits in these games. That is all there is to it. All right, everybody. I am Drew Duncan. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at Drew Duncan Radio. And wherever you're listening to podcasts, take a device to play Drew Duncan. I am not a needle in a haystack. Everybody enjoy the rest of your night and or day. Stay safe, y'all.